How could just 200 Roman engineers eliminate a relief force of 50,000 experienced Celtic warriors? Even more, how could they save an entire legion from total annihilation? In 52 BC, Julius Caesar found himself in what should have been his greatest defeat, trapped between two massive armies. Inside the hilltop fortress of Alesia, the legendary Celtic chief Vercingetorix commanded 80,000 warriors. Outside, a relief force of nearly 250,000 Gauls was marching to crush the Romans between the hammer and the anvil. Caesar had only 60,000 legionaries, exhausted from years of campaigning. They were facing certain destruction from both sides. But within weeks, a small unit of Roman engineers created a masterpiece of military science, a wonder that would influence military strategy for 2,000 years. These were not men of swords. They were men of measuring, tools, picks, and geometry. This knowledge would decide whether Rome would conquer Gaul or retreat in shame. The secret weapon wasn't just steel, it was something far more devastating, something the Celts had never encountered before. 52 BC marked the 7th year of Caesar's Gallic Wars. The situation had become desperate. For 6 years, Caesar had systematically conquered the Gallic tribes one by one, using divide and rule tactics. He had crossed the Rhine, invaded Britain twice, and reduced once powerful tribes to tribute-paying subjects. The Helvetii, the Nervii, the Belgae, all had fallen before Roman discipline and engineering. But Caesar had made a critical miscalculation. He assumed the Gauls would never unite. Gaul was a mosaic of over 200 different tribes, each with its own kings, lands, and ancient rivalries dating back centuries. They spoke different dialects, worshipped in different sacred groves, and had raided each other since prehistoric times. Rome had always relied on this fragmentation. However, in the winter of 53 to 52 BC, something unprecedented happened. A young Arverni nobleman, barely 30 years old, Vercingetorix, achieved what no living Gaul had managed. He forged a true Pan-Gallic alliance. Vercingetorix understood what his predecessors could not. You could not defeat Rome in an open battle. The Gauls had tried that for 6 years, losing perhaps 300,000 warriors in the process. At the Battle of the Sabines in 57 BC, Caesar's legion slaughtered 60,000 Nervii in a single afternoon. When the Veneti tried to resist with their powerful fleet in 56 BC, Rome built a navy in just 3 months and destroyed them. Even the Germans under Ariovistus had been shattered with 80,000 casualties. What chance did the Gauls have against such methodical brutality? Vercingetorix proposed a completely different strategy. Scorched earth. Do not fight Caesar's legions. Starve them. Burn every village, every farm, every granary before the Romans arrive. Poison the wells, drive away the livestock, make Gaul itself the enemy of Rome. A 60,000-man army requires nearly 15 tons of grain a day. Without local resources, Caesar would be forced to maintain supply lines stretching hundreds of miles back to the Roman province, lines that were vulnerable to Gallic cavalry raids. The strategy worked brilliantly at first. By the spring of 52 BC, Caesar realized he was commanding an army slowly marching towards death by starvation. Morale plummeted as soldiers went to half, then quarter rations. Caesar needed a victory, and he needed supplies. He chose to attack Avaricum, one of the most beautiful cities in Gaul, which Vercingetorix's allies had reluctantly spared from burning. The siege of Avaricum lasted 25 days and demonstrated exactly why the Gauls feared Roman engineering. Protected by marshes and 40-foot stone walls, the city seemed safe. But Caesar's engineers built a massive siege ramp, 330 feet wide and 80 feet high. They literally built a mountain of earth and timber to reach the walls. When the ramp was complete, the Romans stormed the city and slaughtered 40,000 inhabitants in revenge for their hunger. Not a single person was spared. Vercingetorix learned a valuable lesson. Roman engineering could overcome any fixed defense. This realization led him to change tactics again. He would force Caesar to fight in a place of his choosing, a place where Roman engineering advantages could not be used. He chose Gergovia, a plateau with slopes so steep that siege ramps were impossible. In May of 52 BC, Caesar suffered his first decisive defeat at Gergovia. The assault on the walls turned into a massacre. 700 legionaries and 46 centurions, the backbone of Roman leadership, were killed. Caesar was forced to retreat. News of his defeat spread like wildfire. Tribes that had long been submissive began to revolt. Caesar's most important allies, the Aedui defected and killed every Roman in their territory. Caesar was trapped in hostile territory with collapsing supply lines. But victory bred arrogance. Vercingetorix attacked Caesar on open ground near Dijon, but Roman discipline and Germanic cavalry crushed his forces. Fearing collapse, he made a fatal retreat into the hilltop fortress of Alesia. Caesar saw his chance. He didn't just wait, he built. His engineers constructed a nightmare, 2 rings of walls, one to trap the Gauls inside and another to stop the 250,000 reinforcements coming from outside. Between them, 60,000 Romans stood their ground in a mechanical death trap of spikes and trenches. Inside Alesia, hope turned to horror. 20,000 civilians were expelled to save food, only to starve to death in no man's land as both sides watched. On October 2nd, the final clash erupted. 60,000 Gauls broke the northern line. In the chaos, Caesar donned his iconic red cloak, personally leading the charge. The Roman pincer closed, the Gallic dream died in the mud. Vercingetorix surrendered the next day. Alesia proved that math is deadlier than steel. Thank you for joining the Chronos Archive. If you enjoyed this victory of geometry over brute force, like and subscribe. Which battle should we unearth next? Tell us in the comments. Until next time, the greatest weapon is the tool in the hands of one who knows how to measure the world.